This is a story of our honeymoon in Argentina. So if you haven't already watched, my 2023 video actually does not have room for this. So this is a separate video all by itself. I flew from Tennessee and Annette flew from California, and we met in Miami as the first leg of our trip on our honeymoon. The first overnight stay was here, and it just made sense that we meet here so that if there was any delays on either side, we wouldn't miss the main trip, which was to Mexico City. Our honeymoon is officially underway essentially very early in the morning at the Miami airport, where we kind of got together and waited in line to get on this first leg of the plane. And then, of course, she likes dogs, and this particular dog was traveling with us. We had nice first-class seats on our first leg from Miami to Mexico City. We studied what our plans were when we get there. This is Mexico City Airport, where we had a little bit of a layover, went to the lounge and had some food. And then we got on our plane from Aeromexico, which was from Mexico City to Buenos Aires. And the best part of this is that we had the first class seats, that kind of like the sleeper pods. And I'll tell you what, these are like a game changer. These are so amazing. You could lie down. You have your own television that you can watch anytime. They have headphones, pillows, and then you got plugs. And here's Annette kind of falling asleep, popping back up. But anyways, this was by far the greatest way to travel. One of the first things that struck me arriving in the Buenos Aires airport was the fact there wasn't a lot of like fast food restaurants and stuff like that. This is a restaurant with tablecloths, which was kind of a precursor as to what we were going to be encountering in Argentina. Our first hotel here was in El Distrito Uces, which is kind of an area which is near where we're going to be staying. But I had left my phone in the taxi, and the taxi driver turned around, came back, and actually gave me my cell phone back. I don't have any pictures of this driver, but more about that later in the video. Our first stop was El Teatro Colón, where we bought tickets for a play that I'm going to show you a little bit later in this video. We met with some friends that Annette knew from the United States, and they told us where to get change on the exchange rate. The exchange rate was extremely low at the time that we were of our visit, allowing us to get a large amount of Argentinian pesos for dollars. So what is this? Stacks of cash?
It is $200.
$200 worth of, it's 178,000.
So try to put this in your pocket.
Try 78,000 pesos.
Oh, that's a little hard to do.
But technically, 2 of these will buy a taxi ride. As part of our honeymoon, we went on several Airbnb experiences, 3 of which you will see here. Instead of booking a room, you book an experience. We did several of these, but this guy did intimate one-on-one piano concertos. He had wine and cheese for us and opened his home in the heart of Buenos Aires. His wife is a doctor. In Argentina, doctors make much, much less than doctors in the United States. Doing these Airbnb experiences allows their family to make ends meet, and from what he told us, he makes more money doing this than his wife makes in the medical field. There is a cultural shift that happens when you experience Argentina, and it's profound. The Argentinian peso is essentially worthless, and inflation is out of control for her citizens. But what do you see? Poverty is here, no doubt, but the city is clean. The people are proud, very proud to be Argentinian. The Masonic influence on the architecture is everywhere in Buenos Aires. The little shops are clean and family-run. Nearly all the sidewalks are surfaced with these 2-inch square tiles. The Italian influence is everywhere. The kids are kids. People dance young and old here on the Puente de la Mujer, the Women's Bridge. The coffee shops are quaint and welcoming. And the people, oh, the people. The asado, the Argentinian barbecue, is an essential part of the Argentina experience. An Argentina home is not complete without a wood-fired asado. These barbecues in the city are mostly on the rooftops and are everywhere. They are part of the skyline. I've not yet mentioned the restaurants, the steaks, the food, 5-course meals, which include starters, salad, and the best steaks you've ever had, a bottle of wine, dessert, and great service. It doesn't hurt that this beautiful woman speaks the language, all for the price of what a family would pay for a meal at McDonald's in the United States. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the street fairs. They were very crowded, but they had handmade goods. Everything was very authentic with very few commercial items that you'd see. Handmade knives, arts, belts, and jewelry. The trendy ice cream stores that had some fantastic gelato and chocolates, flavors, and combinations you wouldn't think of. Which included a frozen raspberry coated in 2 kinds of chocolate and served as a frozen bonbon-like treat. We went to breweries, walked the street, and had media lunes, which is essentially a small, sweet croissant. We had these every morning, and I will be discussing this a little bit further later in this video. We met new friends on walking tours and ended up in secret locations only known to locals. As part of our honeymoon, we took a side trip from Buenos Aires to Mendoza. Because of the affordability, we just kept our Airbnb in Buenos Aires. If you are a wine lover, you know of Mendoza. Mendoza is not only a city, it is essentially the wine region of Argentina, located in the western portion near the border with Chile. We stayed at a small winery called Villa Mansa. Our suite was one of a few wine barrel-shaped buildings. It had all the comforts of home and then some. It was completely separate from the main building, but near the pool and other amenities. The grounds also included 2 Bernese mountain dogs. These are very large working dogs, but were very sweet and well behaved. We enjoyed the grounds, but because it was early spring, it was too cold to really appreciate the pool. We really can't say enough about the small restaurant and the food that was there. The food was simply out of this world. Very unique pastas and meats and desserts. The chefs were superb and the service was amazing. We really kind of felt like we were rich. There really could be a whole separate video just on the food in Argentina. And speaking of food, we went to another asado. It was a short drive from the place where we were staying, and we booked a ride with Fabio. Fabio will show up later in this video, as from this point on, he was our driver and tour guide in Mendoza. The asado was run by a small company named Braciando. They were originally expecting a larger group, but there was a no-show, so we had the whole experience to ourselves. The property was very beautiful, with views of the Andes Mountains. This was my first time seeing the Andes off in the distance, and they are amazing, beautiful, and also kind of haunting.
¿Para qué? Sellar, como uno hace en la cocina, la estufa tradicional, sellar y conservar los jugos.
Sí, sí. Searing, right?
Searing. The asado is to the Argentine as the backyard barbecue is to the Americans. However, just imagine the asado more like a built-in fireplace than the propane and charcoal versions that we know. The asado is only heated with wood and only over the glowing red-hot coal that falls from the wood fire. It requires constant management for heat control. This was a hands-on experience where we helped prepare and cook the food as we learned about it. Not only was this an exceptional experience for both me and Annette, it felt like we made good friends along the way. The asado is not just the place where the food is cooked, nor is it just the meat that is cooked or the other food. It is the friends, it is the family. The asado is an experience. Wine tour day. First, I have to say, for the wine lover, you really could spend a whole month here, if not longer. Our wine tour includes 3 wineries in the Uco Valley, which included the Topungatu subregion. Our tour took us to Familia Blanco, Atamisque, and Andaluna wineries. We learned about the grapes that becomes our favorite wine, the Malbec. I had not even tried this wine before I met Annette, and now it's my favorite. It's a very large and juicy grape that's ideal for this region and perfect for making wine. The wine history here is very rich with influences from Italy and France. In my opinion, this area is a direct competitor to California wines. We got to taste many different wines, including Cabernet Franco, which is essentially the parent of the Sauvignon that we learned. Another favorite is the Tempranillo. The food, along with the wine, was a great experience. We met people from all over the world, including a mother and father from Australia, who wanted to meet up with their son that was traveling the world and ran out of money. This was not the first story like this. It's a common story to get lost and not want to leave Argentina. The tour was amazing, and on the way home, it reminded us of how close we were to the Chilean border. This line of trucks is a long line of trucks that was waiting to cross the border. I told you earlier that we would hear more about Fabio. Fabio became our driver while we were in Mendoza, but not only that, he became our tour guide. Our request was that he drive us around Mendoza to see the city. Unbeknownst to us, he spent much of the day before researching and translating sites for us to see and visit, researching the locations and the history, and then translating it to English so that he made sure he knew it. All we can say is that his tour was amazing. We got to see areas that we wouldn't have known about, and we got to know the history of the area, not only from his personal experience, but also from his research. It was a locals-only tour. The tour included the local museum, local parks and monuments, famous buildings, and we also had lunch at this completely unadvertised location. At the end of the tour, he wanted to charge us what was essentially $20 for about 4 hours work. Needless to say, we gave him what we thought was appropriate, which was considerably more than he expected.
And
With all the water?
Yeah.
This guy's going the same speed.
Faster.
Yeah, it's faster.
If I find a place.
The tour was amazing, and we made a friendship along the way. To this day, we still keep in touch with Fabio. Fabio, if you're listening, we're thinking about you, and we hope that you're doing well.
Random that is inspired in fountains of the continents, inspired by the...
At the end of the tour, we were dropped off at the airport, but we knew in our hearts that someday we would definitely be coming back to Mendoza. Returning to Buenos Aires, our Airbnb was in the Palermo district within Buenos Aires. The Airbnb we stayed at was essentially a room within an old family house that had been converted and modernized to be separate condo units. Amazing food items that I forgot to mention was the pizza, the medialunes y jamón and queso, that's what I was talking about earlier, and also an amazing soup that they made specially for us just because we weren't feeling good. We walked around the city and explored what it had to offer, going here and there. And then we did actually also have some guided tours by this guy, a couple of tours actually through this guy, and he took us around the city and showed us some important things with a little group of people. And one of the last things that we also did was we saw the famous cemetery that is in Buenos Aires. And as part of that trip, everyone is gathered around the grave of Evita, which is here. And we couldn't really get too close, there was so many people around it, but I was managed to get this picture. We were told that we can't visit Argentina without seeing a tango show. As it turns out, the owner of our Airbnb was also part owner in this tango show company, and he made reservations for us. We found ourselves at one of the oldest tango show companies in Buenos Aires. The tango inspired some of the artwork that we got at one of the local street fairs. The tickets we bought for the theater on our first day in Buenos Aires are finally on our schedule. On the ride, I reflect on the driver that brought my iPhone back to me on the first day we arrived. Since arriving, we have learned that iPhones in Argentina are rare and can be worth the price of a used car. He left in such a rush, I did not have time to think about a reward for this good deed. Walking up the grand staircase to the Teatro Colón is just a prelude to the magnificence inside. Like many historic theaters, this theater was saved and restored to its original beauty. The opulent details of the space and the architecture left me speechless. Looking around, I can't help but think of the famous and powerful people and families that have been there before us. I also think of the modest person who had to save up for such a special occasion. The name of the play we're seeing is called El Turco, the Turk. It is a story of an attractive Turkish man visiting the country, affairs, love, jealousy, and in the end, redemption of sorts. I followed along as soon as I could, with Annette helping me out when the audience started laughing. It was a beautiful evening. Las chicas de tres essentially means the girls from three. The three referring to the building warehouse number where their food stand was. This was not a tourist area. This was the Central Market District in Buenos Aires. This place was not easy to find. Their story became famous when Netflix did a series about street foods. We did a lot of walking to eventually find the space. Although the line was not very long, the wait was. They are famous for the dish they called tortilla, which is far from the tortilla that we know. It's made with diced potato, eggs, ham, and a massive amount of cheese, then baked in a pizza oven. By the way, the Argentines are not chintzy on the cheese. They also had empanadas and some sort of pizza.
Una para compartir. Vamos por la tortilla. Wow.
Perfecto.
Gracias.
Thanks to Annette, we skipped the line and ended up with the next two seats at the counter. They apparently reserve these for travelers and tourists as a reward for finding the place. That's the dish, the tortilla, and it's just as delicious as it looks. After Las Chicas, we returned to our Airbnb for one last nap by the pool while waiting for our driver, the same driver who brought back my phone. When he dropped us off, his reward was all the remaining Argentina pesos we had left, which was a lot. I explained to him his act of kindness saved our trip, and of course, made this video possible. When we returned to the US, we stayed one last night in Miami at this hotel, which was ironically owned by an Argentinian. We spent the last day just relaxing and getting some sun by the pool, looking at the views of Miami and the ports, and looking forward to our future. The best part about coming home to Tennessee this time is that we're both coming home. A Argentina, amo tu país, tu gente, la comida y la belleza. Aprende que la diferencia entre buenos días y bien día lo es todo.
Hasta luego.
And to Annette, my wife. Our honeymoon in Argentina was an amazing experience. It's been a year since that trip until the date that I finally finished this as a spin-off from the My 2023 video, which is really our 2023. Since then, we have settled into our marriage and made a home together. But I have not lost sight of what this video was for. This was a video of our honeymoon and a celebration of our marriage. It was not just an awesome trip. It was an awesome trip because I could be there with you. You drive me to take home memories over taking home things, to go to a concert instead of sitting at home, to play cards or a board game instead of watching TV. You are a planner. You are an amazing person in so many ways. You are beautiful. I still get caught staring at you, feeling like the luckiest man. Te amo, seas tan bonita.